Or maybe you want to be innovative. Maybe you want to be completely original. This is where that leads you.
In 2 days, I will be 36 years old. And for my birthday, I'm freezing my eggs. I, like a lot of women, put my career first for way too long. I wasn't looking for the right type of guy. And now I'm here. You don't want to be that person who wakes up and suddenly realizes I can't get pregnant. And it's the thing that I've always wanted. You don't want to wake up and not have enough eggs. Because I'm not going to allow this dream to pass me up because I was being stubborn or scared or living in a fantasy land.
So how is being hedonistic and doing what you want instead of what you should working out for you? Look at this woman. She's in tears because she realized that she fucked up majorly. This is what happens when modern career women hit their late 30s. But guys, there is even more to the story.
So my son came from a relationship that I was with. I was dating him. We were together for several months. We ended up realizing after needs-based conversations and being really clear with each other that we weren't working, we broke up, and then I found out I was pregnant.
We broke up and I found out that I was pregnant? You got pregnant on accident? You mean to tell me that you survived 9 proposals plus any other guys that you had sex with, and none of those guys got you pregnant? But 2 years after you freeze your eggs, 2 years after you say that it's your dream to have a child, 2 years after you say that you thought you were going to have kids with someone else, but it didn't work out, you accidentally got pregnant. Guys, remember, birth control is over 99% effective when it's used properly. That being said, I find it suspicious that she was able to survive for, let's say, 2 decades without making a mistake, but then suddenly, as she's about to hit menopause, she slips up. Now a guy who was likely glad that he escaped her is trapped for 18 years with her woke parenting. Plus, her son, who she says she is training to be emotional, is going to get beat up at school for being weak. Real responsible move there. This kind of mess is what happens when you do what you want instead of what you should be doing. Doing what you want all the time and putting up a fake persona to make yourself look better than you are will not make you happy. Don't do that. Don't be like Laurel. She is miserable. Learn from her mistake. But with that said, I think that will be enough for this video. So if you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, comment and share. If you would like to support this channel, then you can do so with PayPal, Patreon, or Subscribestar. You can find all those links in the description or on my channel page. Last, if you haven't checked out on Facebook or Biggz876 yet, then you can also find those on my channel page or in the description. Otherwise, see you next time, and thanks for watching.
OMBPLQ.
Joey? I mean, huge. Whoever he finds, he's got to be able to bring back home to mine.
I'm not looking for much. I just want to find a girl who will give me hugs and kisses and isn't my mother. My mom is a bit torn about sci-fi speed. Would you want me to find like a nice girl to bring home?
I don't think that's the place to find this girl. What kind of girl do you want to find at Comic-Con?
What kind of girl?
Weird girls go there.
On the other hand, my mom, who likes me where I am right now, living at home with her. So, as far as she's concerned, like, you know, any woman in my life is up to her.
I think it's funny to watch someone who is over 300 pounds call girls who go to Comic-Con undesirable. That lack of perspective is why your son is still living with you indefinitely at 25 years old. Anyway, this is Geek Love, a 2-season reality show that ran in 2011 and again in 2013. The show follows nerds as they go to Comic-Con and attend a speed dating session to try and find their perfect match. For me personally, I couldn't care less about the speed dating aspect of the show. That's not why I think it's interesting. What does interest me in this situation is the deep desire for these guys' mothers to keep them from developing socially so that they remain as adult children forever.
So the eatable situation, roughly speaking, is when a child is seriously overprotected, usually a male child, by his mother. And so the relationship between the husband and the wife was either strained or non-existent. And the wife would often turn to the child to be what she isn't getting from the husband. The Oedipal mother basically entices the child. Says, look, here's the deal. You don't have to do anything, but you don't get to leave. But if you don't leave and you don't do these difficult things, then I'll take care of it. And so the reason she does that is because she's lonesome and doesn't have anybody else around, and maybe she's also deeply, deeply, deeply terrified that if she helps that boy grow up, he will leave, and she'll have nothing.
Our main character Joey's situation is not the end result of having a large Spider-Man collection. I mean, the Avengers and the Marvel Cinematic Universe proved that there are a whole boatload of normies who are into comic book heroes as long as the stories are good. What has actually happened is that no one has taught Joey or taught any of the men who are on the glove how to be men. And as Jordan Peterson suggested, this epidemic of adult children is occurring because there are no men in the house, or the men are weak and the moms aren't setting their sons up with the strength to deal with reality. In fact, a lot of those mothers are actively sabotaging their sons, because honestly, these guys aren't incapable of being adults. Both of the examples of men I have in this video are guys who are completely capable of being independent, but their mothers are holding them back. They are selfishly holding their sons back so they can simp for them like 40-year-old Joaquin Phoenix simps for his mom in the Joker movie. And what this is essentially saying is something really kind of disgusting. Joey admits that his mom is afraid of him leaving. She's afraid her son will leave because she knows she has very little value as a person. She knows she is so cruel and mean-spirited that she could never have real friends or build a strong relationship with other family members, or God forbid her own husband. So what she does is takes her son's dependence on her from childhood, never lets him do anything difficult, so he's always dependent on her, and finally beats him down at every point while he's dependent, so he constantly seeks her approval. You can see her doing this on the show, even though she's being polite to the camera.
Do you want me to find like a nice girl to bring home?
I don't think that's the place to find a nice girl. What kind of girl do you want to find at Comic-Con?
Got a girl?
Weird girls go there.
Why would you want to date a girl at Comic-Con? Those girls are weird. They do drugs, and they aren't good for you. You see how she's giving him negative feedback when he tries to be independent? The end result of this is that his mom has him right where she wants him. He isn't able to do anything difficult because he always relies on her, and he is so desperate for her approval that he does things that turn other people off. For example, he gets a date with a girl after the speed dating session, and for their very first date, they go home to meet his mom and play video games.
Hi. Hi. You two are Emily. Hi. So you like to play video games?
I am humorous.
Oh, wow.
So, Emily, are you originally from New York?
No, I'm not. I'm Delaware. I'm just up here in college.
Oh, where do you go?
I go to Columbia.
Oh, great. How do you read? Wow.
We're actually just gonna go and play some video games. Yeah.
Okay.
Now you could say, well, he wanted to play video games on his first date, and the only way to do that was to go home where his parents were. Not the case. This was 2013, not that long ago. There were many options to play video games outside of the house. For example, he could have just used a portable game like a Nintendo DS or a PSP. I see plenty of people doing things like that at conventions all the time. But let's pretend for a second that he didn't have any portable games. I have never been to a convention that focuses on anime, video games, or comics, especially a massive one like New York Comic-Con that didn't have some place off to the side full of arcade games, full of classic video game systems, or even a TV set up with Super Smash Bros. There was no reason this girl Emily had to meet Joey's mom on the first date. Joey's need for approval is his mom's self-defense mechanism to make sure that he simps for his mom instead of some other girl. Because the first thing a girl is going to think when he brings her home to mommy on a first date is, this guy is weird.
Yeah, meeting the parents on a first date was a little bit weird.
During this episode, you can really see the detrimental effect that Joey's mom has had on them, because he was extremely lacking in dating experience at 25, which is something he feels bad about. But when he does the speed dating event and shows his personality, he ends up being the most popular guy.
Joey nails it. Every girl writes their number on his paper. So Joey got his eye on Doctor Who, and there's a good chance she likes him. The problem is, every girl wants him. Whoever gets to him first wins.
Again, this video is not about the dating. It's more so about someone who is perfectly capable of achieving what he wants, but his mom, for her own selfish desires, is holding him back while his dad basically just sits in the background. Now, I haven't been able to figure out what has happened to Joey in this
Okay, I'm about to
7-year
start,
Six
guys.
Sisters film, but it seems to me that he was in the process of escaping his mother's grasp. Before this show was filmed, he lost 80 pounds, and after the show was filmed, he moved out of his parents' house.
Hey, it's me, Joey, and what speed dating at Comic-Con taught me was that, it's very hard to bring girls to the house to introduce them to my mom or to hang out here at my house if my mom's going to basically be questioning whether or not they're virgins or what their motives are with me or anything like that. And so basically this entire experience taught me that it's time to move out.
Even though it appears that Joey made it out, I can't help but think about the people who don't make it or the people who are less fortunate.
Okay, yeah, for guys or girls? Oh, girls, definitely.
Hi, I'm Alex, I'm 25, and I am a giant geek. My love life status is a mix of forever alone and socially upper penguin. I'm a Renaissance geek. I like comics, I like board games, I love Dr. Who, and I'm also a brony. So what a brony is someone who watches My Little Pony. Okay, this is Pinkie Pie. She likes to party.
Now, of course, it's very easy to make fun of Alex. He is a 25-year-old who lives with his parents. He's overweight, he has an awkward beard, and he watches My Little Pony. Unfortunately, you don't get to see Alex's parents like you do with Joey, but there is a reason the mother's basement stereotype exists. There's a formula to create guys like Alex, and an overprotective, eatable mother is how you do it. So, of course, you can make fun of him, but I don't think that behavior is productive, because it's guys like Alex who would do anything for a woman just to get her approval. This means he is an easy target to be manipulated by women, and a great vessel for toxic female behavior to be developed. And if you think that it's just the attractive ones that engage in this bad behavior, then you will be wrong.
What kind of girls do you want to meet when you go to con? There's nice types of nerds.
Yeah.
No, seriously though, like what type of girl would you optimally like to meet there?
I guess you, but not crazy and hyper.
So you essentially want my non-evil twin.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
A little creepy, Alex.
Some of my challenges with girls are just the girl that I really do like, that I'm really interested in, just want to be friends.
This girl, Carolyn, who is not an 8, 9, or 10, or even a 7, knows Alex really likes her. Instead of being completely honest with him and shutting him down so he doesn't sit there and orbit her for the rest of his life, she keeps him around and I guess gives him dating advice. Clearly no one has taught Alex anything about women, so he doesn't know this, but she's not doing this stuff because they are friends. She's doing this because she likes the attention he gives her, and she's giving him dating advice because she thinks he's pathetic.
What kind of questions are you going to ask? Who's your favorite pony? Oh my god, are you a brony?
Oh, yes, I am.
Oh my god. You know that's something with MMOers, right?
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
If she really wanted to help, then she wouldn't friend zone him and participate in this weird relationship. But she isn't going to do that because women don't do things like that. They like collecting resources, and she knows that she can eventually use Alex's attraction to her to get him to do stuff for free. The most productive thing we can do in this situation is to make sure guys like Alex don't become simps for women. This reminds me of a comment that gets thrown around by people who are anti-MGTOW, where they say, MGTOW are just incels in denial. They are only red pill because they can't get women. You know what? Mission accomplished. Red pill all the incels because at least then they won't be enabling bad behavior from women. At the very least, maybe they will stop making everything about women and actually get their lives together. And this is not just some impossible feat for Alex or guys like him. Alex is not retarded. Alex is not autistic. He is just unskilled. The reason he doesn't converse well is because he hasn't practiced very much. Now, there are two important aspects of building the skill. One, exposure to new experiences, and two, repetition. That is how skill develops, and you can actually see this happening with Alex during this episode. When Alex goes on to his first speed date, he is absolutely terrible.
So, how long have you been? So, how are you doing Comic-Con so far? What? How are you doing Comic-Con so far?
Just look at that. In his first conversation, he can barely even speak, but after a little practice, he gets way better.
I work in the health education.
Health ed teacher, putting condoms on bananas, things like that. It's always fun.
It always, shocks people when you pull the banana out of the egg.
He exposed himself to a new experience, which was speed dating. He practiced with 30 different people during the event, and by the end of the event, he got significantly better. After that, he really only needs to fix one thing in terms of conversation, which is that he comes off as weird. And the reason that happens is because he's saying absolutely everything on his mind and doesn't filter out unnecessary information.
You want to meet up sometime after this?
Yeah, sure. But I've got a little bit of time right now if you want to keep chatting.
We can walk around,
Yeah.
we got your boots as well.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
I mean, it's like, you do it yourself, of course, but you want company.
Now, getting back to Jordan Peterson for a second, because one of the things I heard him say is that he came to a point in his life where he decided to stop saying things that make him weak. In the previous clip, you can see Alex sitting with a girl who likes him, and he offers to walk her back to her booth. Not exactly a date, but good enough for him. Then immediately after he offers to walk with her, he says, of course, she could just walk back by herself. Do you see how that second statement destroys his offer to spend more time with her and makes him look weird? If he had simply not said that, he may not have gotten rejected by her as soon as they walked out of the room.
So, yeah, what happened after speed dating was that after talking to Kate, basically on camera, camera's raw, and we walked away, and what happened was that basically, she told me after, not a minute, basically that she's short of friends. So basically kind of, nothing ever happened, of course. I understand, but it was kind of depressing.
And it's not just Alex who does this kind of stuff. He may be worse than the average person, but everyone is guilty at some point of doing what he did. The key to good conversation is to start thinking about the best things you can say versus whatever insecure ideas come into your head first. I mean, even when I write, I hit the delete key a lot. I do that because I'm casting out all the bad ideas so we can focus on the things that actually matter and the things I have good evidence for. And this can be expanded to every aspect of your being. You can start systematically getting rid of the things that make you weak. Imagine what Alex's life would be like if he took a razor and shaved that awful looking beard. Imagine how much better he would be if he lost about 120 pounds. Imagine what his life would be like if he stopped spending $5,000 a year on video games and comics and instead invested that into himself. That's how you start living a life that's fulfilling instead of wallowing in self-pity while being taken advantage of by women you like who don't like you back. When you start focusing on bettering your own standing, you will stop caring about which women like you and which women don't. And that will be enough for this video. If you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, comment and share. If you would like to support this channel, then you can do so by donating through PayPal, Subscribestar, or Patreon. All of those links are in the description or they're on my channel page. Last, if you haven't checked me out on BitchShoot yet, then you can do so by also checking the link in the description or on the channel page. Other than that, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.
No, I didn't see that. But did you see that girl? What was that? All I have to do is mention my course, and she'll fall at it like this. Watch this. Wait. You are with this guy.
Yeah.
He could barely afford to buy that.
You really think I would only be attracted to somebody because of their wealth? You know, who he is as a person is way more valuable than anything.
I swear, I've watched this video like 10 times, and even though I know it's coming, I can't help but laugh every single time when the chick says, "You really think I would only be attracted to somebody because of their wealth?" I can't help myself. A woman choosing a bartender who is broke over a rich guy is just so far removed from reality. Look at this guy, he's all broken up over it. Like, wow, I really messed up this time. I need to learn how to respect women more. This may be how women want you to think they are, but it's definitely not how most women act. In reality, that chick would have put on a show for her boyfriend and then immediately gotten the rich guy's number once her boyfriend was out of the room. Women in real life don't say things like what was said in this video. That's like a guy saying, do you think that I would be attracted to a woman just because she is hot? Outrageous. Who is responsible for this fantasy? None other than our famous urban guru, Jay Shetty. For those of you who are out of the loop because you don't use Facebook, Jay Shetty is a famous motivational speaker who has 26 million followers. Certainly, if you are on Facebook, one of the basic chicks on your friends list has probably shared a video from him. I have always been bothered by this guy, but I could never quite put my finger on it until now, because he does say a lot of really good stuff, like this.
Just as there's junk food, there's junk media. And junk media is as addictive as junk food, but it's not great for us. This is my belief. If you present people healthy food, but in a way that looks and tastes like junk food, they will switch. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yes, that's exactly what you should be doing when you teach. If you can make the subject entertainment, people will jump to learn what you're talking about. Every teacher should be doing that. So Jay starts off with great stuff like that, but then shoots himself in the foot by saying dumb stuff like this.
There's this incredible study that I love quoting at the moment, when men and women were asked to be alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes, or choose an electric shock. 60% of men chose an electric shock, and 30% of women chose an electric shock. So they want to be alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes.
So the study he's referencing was done by the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. The article talking about that study says that hundreds of college students were in the study, so we can safely assume that it's under 1,000 people who are participating. Because the number wasn't specified, I'm actually more apt to think it was on the lower end, like 200 to 300 people. Not a very big sample size to be making sweeping generalizations about all people. Second, Jay is trying to make it seem like, wow, I guess people just can't be by themselves. But the study doesn't measure that. It measures if you would rather be shocked or sit alone. To which my question is, how bad was the shock? I bet if you said stay in this room for 15 minutes or we will incapacitate you with this police stun gun, 100% of the participants would have figured out how to be alone for that time period. Now, another conclusion you could come to from this study is that men are less capable of thinking by themselves than women are. 67% of men shock themselves versus 25% of women. Even though you could make that conclusion based on the data, we know that interpretation is incorrect. Almost all the great thinkers are men, and women don't do things like hunting trips or fishing trips where they spend hours saying nothing to their friends like men do. What likely happened in this study is that 200 college students were bribed to go to the study with extra credit, and they just wanted to leave as soon as possible. The men were less afraid of the shock than the women were, so more of them opted to leave the study early. This study has tons of flaws, and there is no critical thinking in Jay's representation of it. He just takes the study at face value because it fits his bias, and the numbers in the study make women look good, which I'm sure impresses his mostly female and beta male audience. That's why I'm bothered by him. If you listen to a good 5 hours of Jay's content like I did, you'll realize that pretty much all he does is quote other famous people. That's not how critical thinking works. Anyone can quote a smart person and seem smart. That's like passing a multiple choice test in high school and then calling yourself a genius. Any idiot can memorize an answer. What really matters is the ability to determine if that answer is correct or not. That's why critical thinking is important. Critical thinking requires that you take an idea and attack it at every single angle to see if you can break it. Ideas that don't stand up to criticism get thrown out in favor of stronger ideas that do. It doesn't seem like Jay is doing that. It looks like he's picking ideas merely based on shock value instead of finding shocking ideas that can hold their own. What that leads to is a bunch of videos that are like, be careful what you say to your mom because you might die in a plane crash tomorrow. come on, Jay. Plane crashes are a rare occurrence. How does that apply to a general audience outside of a play on female emotions? As Jocko Willink might say, emotional motivation doesn't result in actual long-term discipline. It makes you feel good, but it doesn't lead to work getting done. This is why motivational speeches are a joke. As soon as the speech is over, the motivation goes away. Building good habits is how you actually get work done. You don't get work done by temporarily doping yourself with a charismatic speaker. Alright, sorry about the long-winded introduction on Jay Shetty. I had to do that, or else 10,000 people in the comments would attack me and say, "Nuh-uh, you're mischaracterizing him." I'm not. Some of Jay Shetty's stuff is good, but most of it is just fantasy plus charisma. Let's get back to the original video and the main topic by watching Jay's response to the guy in the bar with women with his Porsche.
Focus on what you bring to the table, not what your money brings to the table. Not everyone is attracted to just material. Some people are attracted to potential. They're attracted to personality. They're attracted to passion.
Here is why this is wrong. There is a principle in music that applies everywhere called a hook. A hook in music is when a musician puts a catchy tune into their song so that you listen. One of the most famous musical hooks is this one from Under Pressure. This hook made by Queen and David Bowie was so popular that Vanilla Ice stole it, and his song Ice Ice Baby became the most popular hip-hop song of that time period. Vanilla Ice denied the theft at first, but eventually admitted he stole the material after a lawsuit. That is how powerful a good hook is in music, though. Someone can steal your hook, and they become famous too. If you want to learn more about musical hooks, then Rick Beato has a Workers of Well. Women will